10, 2024, News Report 1. According to Ming Pao, China is continuing to strengthen its propaganda operations against Taiwan. Neutrino technology company from Fujian dispatched drones to Kinmen on June 7 and 8, distributing flyers and live streaming on Douyin. Videos showed drones flying over the nearest Kinmen Ma mountain outpost from China, dropping 130 flyers from a height of 50 meters, containing blessings and wishes. Lu Zhenhao, the general manager of Neutrino Technology, told Ming Pao that the drones flew 3 times without being intercepted. However, after the live broadcast, the company's executives were summoned by the Chinese government and asked to remove the related videos. On the same day, Taiwan's Chief of Staff Mei Jiashu was inspecting the Defense Command post in Kinmen. The Kinmen city government issued a notice requesting the police to investigate. The police said that Chinese players had announced earlier that they would distribute flyers in Kinmen, but the drones had returned to the mainland, and the army had not reacted, which was puzzling. The Kinmen command said that this was intended to increase visibility. Taiwan's Defense Minister Gu Lixiong reported that unauthorized aircraft entering the 12 nautical mile territorial sea could be attacked. Despite the lack of response from the military, Gu Lixiong said the operation had achieved its military objectives. Meanwhile, TVBS reported that on June 9, a Chinese man driving a speedboat crashed into a Taiwan fishing boat at the Danshui Fisherman's Wharf. The Taiwan Coast Guard arrested the man on suspicion of violating immigration and emigration laws and sent him to the Taipei Shilin District Prosecutor's Office for review. The Coast Guard stated that they did not intercept the speedboat because it had not entered Taiwanese waters. These series of events exposed Taiwan's weak defense and caused widespread concern and attention in society. News Report 2. June 9 marked the 5th anniversary of the Hong Kong anti-extradition movement. Hong Kong people in the UK and Taiwan held rallies to commemorate the movement. On June 9, 2019, the Hong Kong government pushed for the extradition bill, triggering a protest with 1 million people taking to the streets, leading to the outbreak of the anti-extradition movement, the largest democratic movement in Hong Kong's history. In London, 500 people gathered outside the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in London. The organizers raised a flagpole in front of the Economic and Trade Office, raised the flag of Hong Kong independence, and sang, "Glory to Hong Kong." Participants shouted, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our times," and "Hong Kong independence is the only way out." The organizers stated that this year's rally not only commemorated the 5th anniversary of the anti-extradition movement but also called on the UK government to close the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office and revoke the diplomatic immunity of Hong Kong officials. Hong Kong police have offered a $1 million Hong Kong dollars reward for the arrest of activist Liu Zudi, who attended the London rally. He said that life has been very difficult for Hong Kong people in the past 5 years, with many either imprisoned or exiled overseas, and those remaining in Hong Kong facing tremendous pressure. To date, Hong Kong has 1,800 political prisoners, and tens of thousands of citizens have been unjustly prosecuted for participating in protests, media have been shut down by the government, and freedom has been deprived. He called on Hong Kong people overseas to continue to fight in the international community to let the world know what is happening in Hong Kong. In addition to London, commemorations of the anti-extradition movement were held in Nottingham, Reading, and Birmingham on June 9. In Taipei, a group of Hong Kong people held a parade on June 9, with about 600 people participating. Some participants wore standard equipment from the 2019 protests, such as gas masks and construction helmets. Hong Kong people said they would continue to pass on the democratic flame in Taiwan. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council issued a statement reaffirming its unwavering support for Hong Kong people. In Boston, Hong Kong people protested during a dragon boat race sponsored by the Hong Kong government on June 9. At the time, Chinese Consulate General in New York Cultural Counselor Shang Jiyuan was speaking, and some Hong Kong people in the audience raised banners saying, "Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of Our Times," despite attempts by staff to stop them, but without success. Protesters left only after speeches by Shang Jiyuan and Hong Kong's New York Economic and Trade Office Director He Meiji. In addition, 30 Hong Kong people gathered in Boston's Chinatown, calling on all sectors to continue paying attention to the situation in Hong Kong. In Toronto, Canada, 20 Hong Kong people held a rally on June 9, protesting in front of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Toronto, saying that the office suppressed citizens overseas striving for democracy and calling on countries to cancel their Hong Kong Economic and Trade Offices. In particular, they believe that retaining these offices is a disgrace for the UK and the US. News Report 3. On June 8, the Israeli military announced that Israeli special forces had rescued 4 hostages, including Noah, who had Chinese descent, and 3 male hostages, in central Gaza. The 4 hostages were kidnapped by Hamas on October 7 last year while attending a music festival in southern Israel and were held in 2 Palestinian homes about 200 meters apart. Noah was held in the home of a wealthy Palestinian, while the other 3 men were held in the home of Al-Jamal, a journalist for the Peninsula TV station in Gaza. Hamas reportedly paid these Palestinian residents to detain the hostages at home. The New York Times revealed that Hamas ordered these residents to kill the hostages themselves when the Israeli army approached. Israeli Defense Minister Gallant said the rescue operation was one of the bravest and most thrilling operations by the Israeli military. The Israeli Special Forces penetrated deep into the Hamas central area of Gaza and successfully rescued the hostages under the siege of hundreds of Hamas armed men. During the evacuation, the Israeli military came under intense attack from Hamas militants. Hamas fired 2 anti-tank grenade launchers, and Israeli drones fired 2 missiles in retaliation. Hamas claimed that 50 militants were killed. During the operation, the Israeli rescue commander Samra unfortunately died. The White House said that U.S. Special Forces also assisted in the rescue operation, and members of the Israeli cabinet watched the rescue process in real time. Hamas claimed that 274 Palestinians were killed in the Israeli rescue operation, including 64 children and 57 women. However, online videos debunked these claims, with netizens retracing the path of the Israeli military's rescue of the hostages. The video showed that the area was basically intact, with no signs of large-scale casualties. News Report 4. The Dutch Ministry of Defense announced on June 8 that the Dutch Navy frigate Tromp encountered 2 Chinese fighter jets circling above it in the international waters of the East China Sea on June 7. At the same time, Tromp's helicopter was also approached by 2 Chinese fighter jets and a Chinese helicopter during patrol. The Dutch Ministry of Defense stated that the dangerous actions of the Chinese fighter jets created a potentially unsafe situation. Photos released by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs show that the Chinese aircraft were a fighter bomber and AZ-19 light reconnaissance and attack helicopter. Dutch parliamentarian Breckmans tweeted that China's intimidation of Dutch warships in international waters is unacceptable, and a serious diplomatic response is needed. Breckmans also emphasized that the Netherlands should not be intimidated and should defend freedom of navigation. Currently, Tromp is on a 6-month global deployment mission. Recently, the frigate crossed the Taiwan Strait and is now heading to Japan, where it will participate in the U.S.-led Rim of the Pacific military exercises held in Hawaii. Reports from the Dutch Broadcasting Alliance indicate that Tromp's passage through the Taiwan Strait reflects a significant change in Dutch policy, as this is the first time a Dutch warship has undertaken such an action. News Report 5. Reuters reported that the Group of 7, G7, is set to issue a warning to China's small and medium-sized enterprises during the upcoming G7 summit, calling on China to stop assisting Russia in circumventing Western financial sanctions. Reuters pointed out that the G7 is not expected to take immediate punitive action, such as restricting the use of the SWIFT international payment system or cutting off dollar settlement channels. Since the outbreak of the Ukraine war, Sino-Russian trade has continued to grow. The United States has warned Chinese financial institutions that they will be sanctioned if they assist Russia in evading Western financial sanctions. However, in March this year, China's banking system began to tighten scrutiny over transactions between Chinese companies and Russia, even halting settlements with Russia. However, many small and medium-sized banks continue to maintain trade relations with Russian companies. Experts believe that the G7's warning is mainly a gesture and lacks substantive action. Because the international business of small and medium-sized banks is limited, even if the United States sanctions them, prohibiting the use of SWIFT or dollar settlements, the impact is not significant. This is because these banks themselves have limited foreign exchange business, and foreign exchange transactions are mainly concentrated in China's 6 major state-owned banks. News Report 6. Kyodo News reported that the United States and Japan held their first meeting on defense equipment cooperation in Japan on June 9. The two sides discussed cooperation on producing Patriot missiles, maintaining U.S. military vessels and nuclear aircraft by Japanese civilian facilities, and assisting Ukraine in producing ammunition. In April this year, the U.S. and Japan agreed to establish a mechanism for negotiating defense equipment, indicating that the U.S. is preparing for possible wars. During the Korean War, Japan was the largest producer of military supplies. This time, the U.S. is seeking Japan's help again to assist in the production of military supplies, apparently in preparation for war. U.S. Deputy Defense Secretary LaPlante and Japanese Defense Equipment Director Shinzia Takeyoshi attended the meeting. In addition, the second MQ-4C, Sea God, drone of the U.S. military arrived at the Kadena base in Okinawa, Japan on June 9. This large reconnaissance drone can collect intelligence and perform surveillance tasks, with a length of 15 meters and a wingspan of 40 meters, capable of continuous flight for 24 hours. The U.S. Navy plans to deploy 2 Sea God drones at the Kadena base from May to October this year. The first one arrived on May 20, and the second one has now arrived. The U.S. military stated that this move aims to strengthen intelligence collection, vigilance, and surveillance capabilities in the Southwest region. Since 2023, the U.S. military has deployed MQ-9 Reaper drones at the Kadena base indefinitely, which can launch missiles. News Report 7. Agence France-Presse reported that the French-German arms group KNDS officially established a subsidiary in Ukraine on June 7 to begin producing military equipment and ammunition in Ukraine, and is responsible for repairing military equipment. KNDS mainly produces Caesar self-propelled howitzers, an efficient artillery system that can quickly evacuate after firing, completing tactical transfers within 5 minutes. In May 2022, France provided a batch of Caesar self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine, which demonstrated extremely high mobility and combat effectiveness on the Ukrainian battlefield. In addition, KNDS has officially signed a contract with a Ukrainian energy company to transfer the production license for 155mm shells to Ukraine. This cooperation will further enhance Ukraine's autonomous capability in producing high-quality shells. This move will not only help Ukraine's autonomous capability in military equipment and ammunition production but also enhance its battlefield response capabilities. The establishment of a subsidiary by KNDS in Ukraine demonstrates the support of the French-German arms group for Ukraine and its determination to strengthen Ukraine's military forces in the current international situation. News Report 8. The Joint Chiefs of Staff in South Korea stated that on June 9 at 5 p.m., South Korea restarted its loudspeaker broadcasts to North Korea, broadcasting the radio program Voice of Freedom, produced by the South Korean military. The program lasted for 2 hours, and the broadcast content could be heard within a range of 10 to 30 kilometers. This is the first time since 2018 that South Korea has broadcasted loudspeaker messages to North Korea. In the past, South Korea's loudspeaker broadcasts to North Korea mainly included news about the Korean peninsula and international news, South Korean pop music, as well as South Korea's democracy and economic prosperity policies. The Joint Chiefs of Staff in South Korea stated that although these broadcast contents may be displeasing to the North Korean regime, the purpose is to convey messages of hope and brightness to the North Korean residents, which will not make North Korea unbearable. This loudspeaker broadcast is a response by South Korea to North Korea's distribution of garbage balloons to South Korea. Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, stated that North Korea had dropped 7.5 tons of waste paper through 1,400 balloons into South Korea from the evening of June 8 to early morning on June 9. The South Korean military stated that as of the morning of June 10, 330 balloons had been detected, with more than 80 landing in South Korea, some even drifting to the area near the National Central Museum in Namsan, Seoul, which is very close to the Presidential Palace and the Itaewon Business District in Seoul. North Korea has previously dropped garbage balloons to South Korea 4 times, including human excrement, which is very disgraceful. The Joint Chiefs of Staff in South Korea stated that all responsibility for this incident lies with North Korea, as this is a response to North Korea's despicable behavior. News Report 9. The Beijing Daily reported that Major General Zhu Jun has replaced Zhu Fandi as the political commissar of the Beijing garrison of the People's Liberation Army. According to Ming Pao, this is the first time that Chinese official media has disclosed the change of political commissar of the Beijing garrison. Zhu Fandi reached the retirement age of 60 last October and did not participate in several military public activities in Beijing this year. The Beijing garrison is a provincial-level military region responsible for defending the capital, Beijing. During the Chinese military reform from 2014 to 2015, all major military regions were abolished, and provincial-level military regions were directly managed by the Central Military Commission, with 3 exceptions, one of which is the Beijing garrison. Photos from the Beijing Daily show Zhu Jun sitting on the left side of the podium at a meeting of the Beijing Municipal Party Committee's Armed Forces Work Committee, wearing army uniform and a major general's epaulets, appearing to be around 50 years old. The report also mentioned that the current secretary of the Beijing garrison is the Beijing Municipal Party Committee secretary, and the commander of the Beijing garrison is Fu Wenhua. The report stated that the third plenary session of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, CPC, will be held in July, but the change of main officials in the garrison has nothing to do with this. The report pointed out that Xi Jinping will definitely arrange for people he trusts to hold important positions, so Zhu Fandi's replacement also conforms to this logic. News Report 10. According to a report from Qingdao Daily, there was an incident in Beishan Park, Jilin City, Jilin Province, where 4 foreigners were injured. Video footage shows 3 injured individuals lying on the ground, 2 of whom are foreigners. One of them is bleeding from the waist, while the other is holding their waist, presumably also injured. It is reported that these injured individuals were still conscious and making phone calls. Some netizens expressed concerns that this incident reflects a worsening xenophobic attitude, but the specific cause of the incident is still unclear. Apart from the fact that there is a famous temple in Beishan Park, there is currently no further information available. News Report 11. On June 10, the Dragon Boat Festival, a tragic accident occurred during training on June 5 for the women's dragon boat team in Shushan County, Chongqing, resulting in the drowning of 3 people. The local government only publicly reported this incident on June 9. Photos on Twitter show that the Shushan County women's dragon boat team had 24 members, none of whom were wearing life jackets at the time of the accident. The families of the deceased stated that the team was not adequately trained, with the female helmsman responsible for steering having only 2 days of training. Some people jumped off the boat when the accident happened, causing the boat to lose balance and capsize. The Shushan County government stated that the Dragon Boat Race, which rotates among provinces such as Chongqing, Hunan, and Guizhou, was hosted by Chongqing this year and has been cancelled due to this incident. Additionally, a dragon boat race in Fenlu Town, Huangmei County, Hubei Province, on June 8 also had a capsizing incident, resulting in one death. Despite their large size, dragon boats are difficult to control when capsized, potentially leading to entrapment. News Report 12. According to data released by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of China on June 10, this year's three-day Dragon Boat Festival holiday saw 110 million people choosing to travel, a 6.3% increase from the previous year. Correspondingly, tourism consumption also increased, with an average expenditure of 400 yuan per person, an 8.1% increase. Data from the Railway Group shows that from June 7 to June 11, a total of 74 million passengers were sent, with 17 million passengers sent on June 8. These travelers mainly took short trips, with popular routes including Guangzhou to Shenzhen, Shenzhen to Guangzhou, Tianjin to Beijing, Shanghai to Hangzhou, and Chengdu to Chongqing. Due to the widespread travel, the movie market was affected, with a 60% decrease in box office sales during the Dragon Boat Festival. News Report 13. According to Xinhua News Agency, the China Meteorological Administration has issued an orange high-temperature warning for 2 consecutive days, forecasting sustained high temperatures in northern China. Meteorological data shows that on June 9, temperatures in northern China reached 35 to 39 degrees Celsius, with some areas such as Handan, Xingtai, Hengshui in Hebei Province, and Turpan in Xinjiang reaching as high as 40 to 42 degrees Celsius. The Meteorological Department has initiated a Level 4 emergency response to high temperatures, the first nationwide high-temperature warning issued by the China Meteorological Administration this year. Meteorological experts remind the public to wear breathable clothing, eat light meals, pay attention to temperature differences indoors and outdoors, take a proper siesta, and reduce outdoor activities during high-temperature weather. It is especially advised to avoid outdoor activities when the temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius.